need at the moment. Otherwise, nothing is changing for the better. It's only going for the worse. So Yael, who I can see there with, wow, very professional with, like, you know, earphones, nice. So I think some of your group are joining us, and they were a bit afraid because they might not understand my English. So you see, as you can see, the group is kind of small enough, which is, for me, again, I prefer, so that we can have contact with everybody. And you can, you know, we make this a little bit into a discussion group anyway. So if you have some objections about what I'm saying, or questions, or suggestions how to present this in a better way, or how to do this in a better way, people can always do, so that it's not so, you know, just me talking and people watching. And also it creates a nice feeling amongst the people who participate. We get to know each other, even though it's only through the screen. So then, or if you don't understand something because of the English, then please just, you know, just say so. That's fine. It's absolutely no problem. You can always interrupt me, like as if I would be in Israel, you know, because then there you're not afraid to interrupt when you want to say something. I don't know why people are so shy when they're in front of the screen. Is this Tomer who is doing the? What's your name? The one who is doing the hosting?
It's Tom.
Huh?
Tom, my name is Tom.
Tom?
Yes.
Not Tomer, only
No.
Tom. Oh, okay, sorry. Have you done your bit already, or do you still want to say something?
Yeah, I just need to say a few words, and then I'll just ask, is there anyone in the crowd other than Anila that speaks English and wish me to say this in English?
No, I think
raise your hand,
okay.
maybe.
I think they're all Hebrew speakers. Looks like it. Now your microphone is muted, so you need to unmute yourself.
Yes. So I'll do this bit in Hebrew, but anyway, I'll put it on the chat, the links to our website and our YouTube channel, or the PayPal address for donation for Anila on the chat in a moment. אז שלום לכולם, ברוכים השבים למפגשים של אנילה, שמח מאוד לראות שאתם איתנו. כמה מודעות קצרות, כרגיל. דבר ראשון, אני רואה שאתם מדליקים את המצלמות שלכם, זה אחלה, אנחנו אוהבים לראות את הפנים שלכם וזה חשוב למהלך של השיעור, אז אשמח לראות את הפנים שלכם בזמן שאתם שואלים שאלות, כמו שאנילה אמרה, מוזמנים לשאול שאלות ולהפריע במרכאות. אז את כל מה שבעצם אנחנו עושים כאן היום זה מוקלט ועולה לערוץ היוטיוב שלנו, וזה גם מופיע שם בעצם בצורה של וידאו חי, שידור חי, כך שאתם יכולים לצפות שם או אפילו לצפות בזה אחר כך אם אתם רוצים להשלים את מה שראיתם ולחזור על זה. וכאמור, כרגיל אנחנו מזכירים שהפעילות שלנו כאן היא פעילות התנדבותית, ואנחנו מוזמנים, אם אתם חושבים שהפעילות שלנו כאן תורמת לכם והייתם רוצים לתרום חזרה, אתם מוזמנים לעשות זאת באמצעות דנה, ואת הפרטים לכך כאמור אתם יכולים למצוא בקישורים שאני אעלה לצ'אט עוד רגע. אז זהו, ושיהיה לכולנו המון כיף והערה מהשיעור, ואני מעביר עכשיו את הדיבור לאני. Thank you. Ani, now you're...
Okay, thank you, Tom. Wow, I can say I really miss you, because only Swiss German language around me is very boring. So I was very happy to hear you, Tom. I was very happy to hear some Hebrew. So, okay. So some of you have been, present in most or even all the other Wednesday evenings that we had, like starting from, can't remember, April or something like that. Some of you have not. So just to prepare you or to let you know what we are doing, we are studying, we're trying to put into practice or training in, using the verses of Shantideva's 6th chapter, which is on patience. We're trying to train the mind to then automatically kind of react like this by giving the mind many, 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 many tools. So the 6th chapter and also the other chapters before, it can be sometimes a little bit, or even after them, it can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming by thinking you have to practice all of it. You don't have to, you don't have to know, you don't have to, you don't have to memorize all, although the Tibetans do, they know the whole book by heart. Look, the book is like, it's like this, yeah, it's not too thick, but can you imagine learning a book like this by heart? Maybe your religious people also can do that. Although they have to read the text, I think. They're not allowed to recite by heart, yeah? I heard somewhere. So in order not to make mistakes. Anyway, so Shantideva is giving us a lot of, to look from different angles, like especially when it comes down about in order not to get angry. So of course, the chapter 6 on patience, it talks a lot about anger. So, and, compassion and all this. So one can very quickly make the mistake by thinking that, oh, I'm not allowed to get angry anymore. So you have to be very careful. That's not what he says, right? He's just telling us, especially at the beginning, maybe we start by verse 1 again and we just read them kind of briefly so that we know what this is all about. He's just telling us about the disadvantage of anger. But then, because when we have to do a forceful action or when we have to do something that we know that the other person is not going to like it when we do it, like stopping somebody from harming or correcting somebody or, or criticizing somebody, pointing out mistakes that the person has made, then unfortunately, we think we need the energy of anger to be able to do this, but that's not the case. So what the chapter is saying and what the whole of Buddhism is saying, because very often, like also people think that the Buddhists, they just say, oh, well, it's all karma and it's all empty and it's all impermanent. So why act? Just let's wait until, somebody dies and then they're gone. Because one verse is like this, where he says, no need to kill your enemies, they will die on their own. So, which is true. So then I think it means not acting. It doesn't mean not acting. It means not acting when anger is present, because with each action we do with the body or with the speech and with the mind, then we create what is called karmic potential or karmic imprints. And when the conditions come together at one point, they will ripen, and they will ripen, in two ways. Like one thing is the whole thing is coming back. The other thing is that we create a habit. So this is why it doesn't mean you shouldn't act. It just means that you really, really have to learn to observe your mind. You have to learn to recognize if the mind is in a positive state or in a negative state. And for that, you need awareness and being attentive, or sometimes it's called mindfulness. So chapter 4 and 5, actually, before it comes here to patience, they talk about this extensively, how important it is to develop a mind where you can clearly recognize, okay, anger is there, or where you can see, honestly, okay, I need to do something. I feel that I'm kind of tight in here. So let me first put the mind in a neutral state before I say something or before I act with the body. So again, this is the Buddhist view. You see the Buddhist view that with each of our actions, we create these karmic potentials like seeds who then will ripen as a result. So in worldly terms, stopping a war with a lot of aggression, that gives you fame and that gives you medals and that gives you peace prizes or I don't know what. But in terms of karma, what you take, that's for this life, okay? But in terms of karma, what you take to your next life, you can't take the award with you nor the medal. But you take with you these imprints of aggression. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't, how many of you can stop a war? I mean, I can't, but people always jump to big examples. So this is why I'm taking this one, because we all want to be heroes and bring peace and stop a war. So, so it's important to really know the mind. And for that, you need training and you need to sit. This is what it is. You need to sit and watch the mind again and again and again and again. And when the mind goes into thoughts, you bring it back again and again and again and again. Because otherwise, all these beautiful methods and all these things remain an intellectual knowledge. And then we end up hating ourselves for knowing to do the right thing and for not being able to do it, because we're not mindful enough, aware enough to catch the negative emotion at the beginning and not to, again and again and again, we get lured. You understand the word lured? We get tempted by these negative emotions because they give us a lot of energy to do things, to say something or to do things with the body again and again and again. We kind of collaborate with these negative emotions because when we see injustice, it feels good to become angry. When you see like a mess in your country, what the government is producing and all this with these people who have like high salaries and who are not capable of kind of doing something together, of course you get angry. This is normal. Yeah, you're frustrated. But the anger itself, if possible, should only be directed against the situation so that you have a wish to change something, not against the person. That's difficult because, who is at fault? Who is creating this situation? Is somebody, is people, yeah. But we will not be able to change presidents and prime ministers and, high people, kings and queens and emperors, whatever. We will not be able to change them with aggression. This is the thing. And what, on top of it, so then what we have, and this is also very good to recognize, then on top of it, we have the difficult situation plus the uncomfortableness of anger. But the problem is this anger and this aggression against the whole thing, it feels so normal that if you're not getting angry, you start to doubt, you really start to doubt. And you even start maybe to doubt your Buddhist practice or your spiritual practice. And you start to think, oh, I wonder if my heart has gone totally cold. I wonder if, I've gone too much into emptiness and nothing is happening anymore. Yeah, so this is why it's always good, emptiness, very good, but also the bodhicitta part, the conventional part, the compassion part, it really goes together. Yeah, and where we stopped last time, the next verse that we're going to do, this is where it says, there's also a conventional reality. So don't neglect that one. But it doesn't mean you should not act. I really wanted to, for those maybe who are here the first time, I really wanted to say that, yeah. And the frustration, sometimes it can help us to kick us into, into action. This is fine, but try not to act with a frustrated mind because This is science, who says when we're very angry, very frustrated, and we become aggressive, the mind itself doesn't have access to the cortex anymore. So we can't reason anymore. It's just kind of blind rage. And then what we say, then afterwards we have to regret, or, or we hurt somebody without wanting to hurt them. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, when we're really angry, or just angry, when we're angry, we say things that with a normal mind state we would never say. Yeah, and this with us we recognize. So we see that, oh, I've been not my normal self. This is why I said these things. But when somebody else says these words, then we get upset and we think that they have control over their mind and things like that. Okay. So I would like to start again with just 5-10 minutes, just mindfulness, awareness, like just being present, this whole thing, just to train the mind to be present. And then when we have brought the mind into more or less neutral state, like open, calm, relaxed, but don't will it to go there. It will do that by itself. When you give the mind a neutral object, and then it will calm down by itself. First, we notice in what state the mind is. Then we give it an object as Mingyu Rinpoche. Mingyu Rinpoche has a very nice short kind of meditation, what is meditation video. It's about 2-3 minutes. I don't know if anybody's seen it, where he says our mind is like a monkey. And then, the monkey is kind of, you see the monkey that goes blah, 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 like this. So this is our mind. And then he says, well, you can't just not do anything with this mind and you think you're meditating. You have to give the monkey a banana. So then you see the monkey, and you see the monkey has already calmed down a bit. So we need to give the mind a object. So the object can be various things. It can be, if you're very distracted and you have many, many thoughts that you can't even find your breath, you use body posture. Just for 5-10 minutes, as we're going to do now, the knowing directly, unmistakably, without judging, the body is sitting. That's it. It's a very gross object, very easy to find. And whenever you feel you're going into thoughts, you come back not to the thought the body is sitting, but to the experience that the body is sitting. Yeah. So when you are stable with this object, body is sitting, or if you do walking meditation, walking, if you are sitting on a chair, sitting on a chair, if you're sitting on the ground, sitting on the ground. When you're stable with this, then you can go to your breath, which is a little bit more subtle than just the whole body. Once you are stable and feel comfortable with the breath, for example, you can go to experience, like, how to say, feelings, but feelings more like, how to say in English, body sensations, to the sensations. That's also very interesting, because you see these sensations of positive, or not positive, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, they more or less dictate our reactions and whatever we do. So, but we don't really notice, we don't know them, we don't notice, it's just like an impulse, like the monkey, not thinking and just wanting to do something, grasping at the one who's pleasant and pushing away the one who is unpleasant. So for your spiritual practice, I can't repeat it enough. You have to train awareness. You have to train mindfulness. Otherwise, nothing will transform. And then you get discouraged, and then the whole thing becomes really just, mental gymnastics, and you start to doubt. You start to doubt the practice, well, it's not working. And talking about it's not working, we're here in Bern, people can come again. We're not many, so this is why they can come. And so we discussed, we're on the 6th chapter here. And, there's all these wonderful methods that Shantideva is giving us. And we all agreed, but they don't work. We say, they don't work immediately like this. Yeah, they work for smaller things. So this is where you go training, so that you see that they work for smaller things, but big things. When somebody harms you, when somebody takes away something from you, when you see, like especially with the government, you know, again and again and again and again, just doing the most unhelpful things that they can do. When you see groups of people like here in Switzerland having big parties, you know, like, or going to the streets to say, now we have to wear masks. Yeah, so people go, Swiss people, that's their problem. They're going to the streets demonstrating against, like, you know, the government is taking away our fundamental human rights. I mean, come on, you know, and they're going like many people together, shouting, screaming, spitting, no masks. And there you go, like, you know, we have the fundamental right to get sick and to have to be stupid, unfortunately. You know, unfortunately, in the fundamental human rights, it is not forbidden to be stupid. So anyway, sorry for criticizing these people, but when I see them, I really ask myself, what on earth, you know, do they want? So you might see also in your, where you are, you know, other people not wearing their masks in the train, on the buses, or, you know, not following these rules. Of course, you can say they're exaggerated and all this, but how do we know? I don't know. And I see that wearing a mask is not such a big thing. So I wear it, and I shut up, and this is it. Yeah, even if it's not necessary, it's okay. It doesn't do me any harm wearing that mask. So there's good to see also our ego when we go like this. Yeah. So when we see all these things, the big things, of course we get angry. You know, don't think that this will happen immediately. So where your field where you start working is with people who slightly upset you. You know, when they nag, the nudniks, yeah, when they go on your nerves, and like, or older people, when 10 times they ask the same thing, and all this, when you feel that it's getting tight in here, this is where then you apply your awareness, your mindfulness training. You go inside, you watch what is going on in here, what does it feel, and you don't even need to do something. You just have to let go of the thoughts, this person is a nudnik, and just be with, how does it feel, you know? Then the breath, in, out, or body sitting, or body walking, body lying down, or whatever. When you give the mind a neutral object, it will calm down. Yeah. So you don't need to suppress anything, and you don't need to live these things out, because by living them out, both of it is not good. Living it out is not good. Suppressing it is not good. If you suppress them, you start to hate yourself. They will turn against you. It's like poison, keeping poison in the body. If you lift them out, one thing, you make a lot of enemies around you. People will stop liking you, and you create more karma. You create more habits and tendencies like this. But when you feel that you've exploded, yeah, we all do, then please don't judge yourself. And this is where we Westerners, we lack the trust that we are good by nature, you know. And it's a deep, deep, deep trust, you know. It's not just occasionally when I do things right, or when I'm the first in class, or, you know, in meditation, I can sit the longest, or I ask the most clever questions for Geshe-ma with the emptiness stuff like this, you know. Then that's not this good feeling about ourselves that we're talking about. This is arrogance. I'm not saying we shouldn't ask clever questions, okay? Please. Ooh, no. But then, you know, what goes with the clever question when she says, wow, you know, what a fantastic question. We all always say, what a good question. Don't, you know, just to encourage you to ask questions. Don't worry, it's not, it might be a really good one, or it's just, you know, the usual answer of the teacher. Oh, what a good question. It's okay, you know, I'll give you all the tricks of the teaching of the teachers, because it's good to encourage you to ask questions, because it's by asking questions that you start to understand. So, but what we lack is this fundamental, deep-sitting trust. I'm a good person. This is what we're lacking. Yeah, the Asians, they have it because they grow up with this. And then we don't nourish it. Then we start to identify with the negative sides and with the anger and with doubt, and then it's self-hate and blah, blah, and all this. So let's do the awareness meditation maybe in two parts. One is first you just sit and you give your mind an object. I explained a few objects, so you choose. You choose because you have to find out yourself. I will not say anything during like 10 minutes. Then when the mind is in a more kind of quiet state, then we try to connect with the goodness in us. So that we get, it's crazy, you know. Somebody has to introduce us to our own goodness. I mean, this is where we are. It's a shame, really. And then we don't even believe it on top of it. Yeah. Okay. So let's try. Just to, if you can sit, not just if you can, make an effort to sit with a straight back because it opens up your chest. Don't be, if you're sitting on a sofa, go towards the edge of the sofa where you can, sit like the legs in a right angle, the legs a little bit triangle so that you are very stable. Best if you can sit on the ground, on the floor, sit on the floor. Legs crossed, that makes a very stable triangle. Okay, so that's the most important thing, a relaxed but straight upper body. And the key word is relaxed. We're so tense all the time because we want, and we never want the right thing. We never ask, we run. We never ask, is that really giving me what I want? Yeah, and you can relax in a very quick and good way by thinking, by really connecting with the body, being totally aware of the body and thinking that the whole body is breathing. That's just one method. That's the one I use. And when I do this, I feel the whole body relaxes. You can do body scan. You can do different areas. One of the main places is the face. Around and behind your eyes, your mouth, your jaws. Try to put half a smile on your face, then that relaxes. And feel the difference also. Be aware of the difference. And then choose what kind of banana you want to give your monkey mind. And you have a lot of thoughts, you can even visualize a monkey, jumping around. And then how can I calm this one down? So you give it an object once you feel that the body is relaxed. Either the breath or an image, the sensations, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, or if you're very advanced, the nature of your mind. Okay, so then we try to find our own deep-seated, innate, natural goodness. If I just say that, it probably won't work. Nothing will happen. So think about the person that you feel that this person really cares about you. Not somebody who is kind of obsessively attached, but a friend, not a partner. Or a parent or a grandparent, if you're still young and they're still alive. And just be with that good feeling that comes when we feel that we are being seen, we are being understood, we are being cared about. And connect with that experience. Live it, experience it, not in your head, but in your heart. And then when we feel that, then maybe we have more confidence, more trust, and just thinking, I'm a good person. Sometimes people don't even dare to think that. And we don't find that natural goodness that we all have. So just think about something good that you have done, in the past, today maybe. So that would include positive intentions. Even though they weren't put into action, it's okay. The intention is the main thing. We keep nourishing these positive intentions. At one point, they will become actions and then they will be positive, they will be pure. So goodness also includes kind of putting the brakes on anger in a skillful way, not suppressing it. Using, for example, Shantideva's verses, whichever words you find helpful. So for that, you need to know them. You need to have them ready, like, firefighters, when there's a fire, to put the fire out, you need something to extinguish it. And many of these verses can put the brakes on anger, or just basic awareness. Same thing. Even if the anger is still there, but at least you're doing something. Trying to put the brakes on anger is a very good thing, not just to let it go. It takes a long time for us not to be angry anymore. Maybe when we have realized emptiness, but not before. But we can stop collaborating with our anger, not creating more habits and more imprints by doing actions when we are angry. This is the main thing. That we are aware enough not to act, to see, oops, I'm angry. And you put the mind in the neutral state by, for example, thinking, being a good person, what would be an appropriate action right now? Goodness also includes extending compassion and helpfulness to others. Courage, generosity, patience. And a willingness to see and even name the truth, whatever it is. So when we are in touch with this basic goodness that we all have, then all these other voices, I am no good, they don't accept me, they don't like me, I can't do this. All these voices will not have so much power and so much strength. They will still go on, but we will not believe them anymore. And when we see and recognize the goodness in ourselves, then we also see the goodness and kindness in others. Recognizing their goodness will help us feel our goodness. So when we're out in daily life, like very spontaneously, almost impulsively, we see all the negative things. But then very consciously try to change that and observe everyday small acts of fairness, kindness, and honorable efforts in others. And we can start kind of, having trust that everybody has inner longings to be decent and loving and wise, and to help rather than harm. We might not see it with our eyes. We might see like a really nasty, horrible person. But what if we doubt that image that our own aggression, our own anger sees or creates rather? What if we start to doubt that image of that person? And we just think, this person too, like me, wants to be happy, doesn't want to suffer. Would like to help rather than harm. This person too can be decent and loving. I think these kinds of thoughts is what His Holiness the Dalai Lama is calling mental hygiene. He talks a lot about mental hygiene lately. I don't know if you watched him 2 days ago, I think it was, when he was talking to teachers. Yeah. And he was so skillful also, when somebody asked, I don't know if Laura Price, is she still there? Yeah, she's still here. Somebody asked about free will. One of the teachers, she said, well, the way we act, what is it? Is it like is it karma? Is it free will? Is it the collective consciousness? Or is it the creator that is kind of determining, the way we act? And he, in a very, 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 very skillful way, because he wants to promote religious harmony. He says, well, it depends what system you're practicing in it. Yeah. So he said, well, the atheist would probably, that's not what he said, that's what I'm saying, is that the atheist would probably think it's free will. The Christian and the Jew would think, well, God has his hands in there. The Hindus would probably think it's some collective consciousness, and then the Buddhists, it's karma. Somebody, Adar, is writing something in Hebrew. Is it something I need to know? Ras, Cooper, Adar.
She said she had to leave. She's sorry.
Ah, okay. Well, is your name Ras or Adar or Cooper? Not, yeah. What's your name? Is she still there? She's gone. Okay, probably Ras. Is Ras also a female name? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, so it was very inspiring the way he talked to these teachers, and yeah, this is it. This is the key, you know. If we can give children already, it's called C learning, yes, social, emotional, and ecological kind of competences. That would be great, but we're not children anymore, so we have to do with whatever we have, and not say, oh no, it's too late. It's never too late, so we can always do something. Okay, do you have questions or remarks to what we just did? Okay, so chapter number 6, because I think we went until verse number 32. So I'll go through the first verses again, because I'm not sure if anybody remembers what we did until now. Anybody does remember? Yeah, also no response here. Is there anybody who in all these weeks, I know I'm putting you a bit on the spot, I'm sorry. Is there anybody, but in all these weeks that we've been talking about these verses, have you used one specific verse, not your own methods, but Shantideva's verses, in order to light up some situation or to feel more relaxed or more calm? Do you have a favorite verse into these verses that we've already done?
Yeah,
Yael is grinning. Don't grin. You have not been here. Yes, Tom?
I like the verse, if there's nothing that can be done, why be upset? And if there is something that can be done, why be upset?
Yeah, very good. Have you used it?
I told it to a friend who needed to hear it.
Yeah, we're also very good always to, you see, it's a very good remark. Okay, I really mean it. It's a very good remark. It's not, I'm not just flattering you, but it's a very good remark, because when we say something to a friend, we say very wise and very clever things. Why? Because we have the right distance to the situation. So we see what we can do or what we cannot do. When it comes to us, because the problem is here, so it's much too big. We can't see the whole of it. Either we have it here or we put it underneath and we hide it, we run away from it. So train the mind to, if you find the verse helpful, train to use it when somebody's getting on your nerves, somebody took your parking lot, something like this. Use it and see what it does, because then we see that it works, and then we start to have trust, and then we can also do the more difficult things. Yeah. So me also, this one and number 10 and number 14, these are my favorite verses. Number 14 is there's nothing that doesn't get easier through habituation, by becoming familiar with it, to have that trust. And if we don't have, if it seems like, I can't live with this, then go backwards and remember, having had that same feeling of, this is too big, I can't do this. But then, because the situation became normal, and then we just went along, and it became quite okay. It was still not pleasant, but at least it wasn't too difficult. Okay. Anybody else has used any verses? No. Actually, you see, this book here. Yeah, Leora, I just want to say the book here, it's a handbook. It's something like, user's manual. So if you want to develop bodhicitta, if you want to become a Buddha, then this is to be used. Otherwise, you are like somebody you bought a new mobile phone or something, or a new car, and you don't know how it works, and then you're not reading the user's manual, then you know, you try to figure it out yourself. You don't have to figure it out yourself. This is why we have all these wonderful methods that we can just use. Yes, Leora, which one? What would you like to?
I can't remember, I don't know it by heart, and I can't remember. I tried to find out the number of the verse, but I use it all the time when there is something goes wrong, and things goes wrong all the time, here and there. There's a verse that says that you have to keep firm because this is, it helps you in the spiritual path to develop pronunciation, I think. But anyway, I said, what did you expect? This is samsara. So if you don't want to be depressed, that's
Exactly.
it. Keep the mind firm.
Yeah.
I try.
Yeah. That's also one. That's very good. It's very good to use that one. What do you expect? Everybody has suffering, you know, it's samsara. It's normal. And then to see the advantage of suffering. I think it was before the emptiness. It's these verses before he talks about selflessness. Yeah. Where he talks about the advantages of suffering. Can you remember the advantages of suffering? Like we don't want suffering, but he talks about the advantages. Can you remember one? Leora was saying one, you're purifying negative karma. You're exhausting negative karma. What's the other one? There's two more that he's pointing out. It destroys arrogance. Because you see, arrogance is a negative mental factor, and whatever we do with arrogance creates negative karma. We kind of neglect this a little bit because we concentrate on desire and aversion or anger and aggression. But arrogance, you know, this kind of comparing ourselves with others and putting ourselves above or below is also arrogance. Then that also creates negative karma. So don't neglect that one, just also see it. Because the problem with arrogance is that it's a good feeling. You know, we feel good about ourselves. That's the problem. Anger, we see, woof, you know, it's no point. And it's like the disadvantages of anger. We can't enjoy anything. We become horrible people. We look horrible. So that's easy to see. Desire makes us very restless. This we can also see that it kind of, you know, creates already now, while it's present, it creates suffering. Whereas with arrogance, it's very difficult to see. Okay, so I just go through the verses. If you have questions or if you want to interrupt, then do. It's just a recap of what we did until now. So verse number 1 to 9 talks about the disadvantages of anger. Whatever wholesome deeds, such as venerating the Buddhas and generosity. Tom, if you have the text, you could actually do screen sharing. Otherwise, I just read it. Do you have it or you don't? You're muted. I can't hear you. You're still muted. So can't hear you, Tom. You're muted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll just in a moment I'll put it on.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll just start reading, and then yeah. Whatever wholesome deeds are already coming. Wow. Verse 1. Great. Maybe you need to do it, make it a little bit bigger if you can, because on my screen it looks quite small. Yeah, perfect. Now I can read from the screen also. Whatever wholesome deeds, such as venerating the Buddhas and generosity that have been amassed over 1,000 eons, will all be destroyed in one moment of anger if you haven't dedicated your wholesome deeds. This is why we always dedicate at the end. Yeah? There is no evil like hatred and no fortitude like patience. Thus I should strive in various ways to meditate on patience, meaning to train, to practice. My mind will not experience peace if it fosters painful thoughts of hatred. I shall find no joy or happiness. Unable to sleep, I shall feel unsettled. It destroys our pleasure. We cannot enjoy anything. You know what? Even if it's very, very pleasant, if we're angry, we don't see the pleasantness. A master who has hatred is in danger of being killed even by those for their wealth and happiness depend upon his kindness. Not depend upon his kindness, but depend on his wages, or depend on his, his house that they can live in. So even we're depending on somebody for survival. When we're very angry, we're capable of killing them. This is how stupid anger is. By it, friends and relatives are disheartened. Though drawn by my generosity, they will not trust me. In brief, there is nobody who lives happily with anger. So if you are a very angry person, and even if you're very generous, people will not like you, even though you're very, then it's no point being generous, Hence, the enemy anger creates suffering such as these. By whoever assiduously overcomes it finds happiness now and thereafter. Assiduously, I also don't understand properly, but I probably means like with a lot of strength and a lot of grit, like very courageously. Having found its fuel of mental unhappiness in the prevention of what I wish for and in the doing of what I do not want, hatred increases and then destroys me. This is number 7, please stay there. This is also very, very helpful. That we know if we're not well, if we're already frustrated, if we don't have time, we're in a hurry, we're tired, and then it is very, 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 very easy to get angry. So don't judge yourselves on top of it, but try to see the conditions why you got angry. So then instead of getting angry at yourself for getting angry, then you have some compassion for yourself. So that's also very, very helpful thought. So a good way of first is just to see that we have mental unhappiness in the morning before we go out of the house, and then to think about something that makes you happy, as we just did in the reflection, by thinking about somebody who loves you, somebody who appreciates you, somebody who values you. So then, the mind becomes very light and very happy. And we can see that this happens for others also. Instead of thinking that, oh, they got angry on purpose, that we start to look a little beyond and we go like, I wonder what's going on with them. I wonder why they're so angry. Then we are, instead of being defensive, we are in our own mode of compassion and kind of connectedness instead of just being judging. Therefore, I should totally eradicate the fuel of this enemy, for this enemy has no other function than that of causing me harm. Okay, so this is Shantideva talking to himself. Like Shantideva already, he's a Bodhisattva, so he has maybe very, very few hindrances, and therefore he can be so, kind of almost beating himself up, being very, very harsh, actually, this kind of, therefore, I shall totally eradicate. Be careful when you talk to yourself like this. Bring more compassion and friendliness into. Saying, it's already a good thing if you're trying. Look, if it will last a long time. So if you have the strength, and if it doesn't weaken your practice, if it only weakens your ego and it doesn't pump your ego when you talk like this, then you can use it, then it's fine. So again, you have to be skillful. Okay, then number 9, whatever befalls me, I shall not disturb my mental joy. For having been made unhappy, I shall not accomplish what I wish, and my virtues will decline. If we're very unhappy, we can't practice properly. So do you know how to bring up your mental joy? Have you methods to do that? You see, everything has a method, everything has a tool, everything has an antidote. So when you're very sad or frightened or agitated, you know what to do? You can just open your mic and say, hey, I don't believe you that you have absolutely no antidotes for unhappiness. Come on.
So we can say that it's impermanent.
Yeah.
And it will not last forever.
Yeah.
And we can also look at some positive points that I have at this moment or in this period.
Yeah, for example. Okay. This is the Dharma method. Sometimes they work, but it takes a long time for them to work. Unless you're used to them, unless you really take refuge in those thoughts, you know. But, you know, a very, very quick way, if you use it as a therapy, eat some chocolate, have an ice cream. If you're not an alcoholic, drink a beer to be more relaxed. Go for a walk, jump, dance, sing, you know. It's okay to take refuge in these so-called worldly kind of antidotes if you use them as a therapy. You know, if you're not using them to find happiness in this life, then that's fine. It's okay. And that's quite, because when you very cleverly think what will help very quickly now, then again, you're in the compassion for yourself mode. So don't be too, you know, I'm a practitioner. No this and no that. No, you know, no pleasure. No ice cream. Yeah, if you're addicted to ice cream, then it's no good. Then of course, then, you know. But so as a quick remedy, something. Yeah. Okay. Is that clear? Yes, Tom.
For me, I feel like sometimes these remedies, such as eating some comfort food or having a beer or taking a walk, for me, it feels like it's in a way not dealing with what's going on. It's like suppressing the whatever causing the mental affliction.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But the problem is, you see, if with a disturbed mind, you look at your unhappiness, then it becomes really big. So this is why I'm saying these things, they're not there to make you immediately happy. They are there as a therapy. And when I say therapy, we're quite clear. A therapy is to be used at a certain moment, and then you drop it. You're not doing therapy your whole life, okay? You know when to do a therapy. So you use whatever I just said, you know, ice cream, chocolate, whatever. You use it as a therapy to calm down and then to think about your problem. Yeah. Okay. So that would be a skillful way. Of course, if you don't need chocolate and pita and TV and all this, then fine, then don't use it. Yeah. But if, you know, if people, because I'm talking more to beginners here also, because I find I am a beginner too, because if we jump too quickly into these very, very beautiful methods, it's having chemotherapy that is too strong for the body. And then instead of curing you, it kind of kills you. Yeah, it makes you very uncertain, and it's not working, and you feel even more depressed and more angry, and this Buddha, what is he saying? You know, I had moments like this in my practice, trying to use these very beautiful methods about compassion, and this I was very angry at somebody, and I held my anger, and I was sending light and lotuses, and Chenrezig was coming and trying to help, but nothing worked. And then it was like a dam breaking, and my anger I was going to my room. Yeah, I didn't kind of shout at her, but I still remember that moment. I was going to my room and I was cleaning my room. So at least the anger was good for something. I started to clean my room, and then I was kind of talking to myself going, what do you think you're a bodhisattva? You're not a bodhisattva. You're angry at this person, and it's good to be angry at this person. You know, I just went like this, and I let it go. And I let it go, but in a safe space, kind of cleaning my room and finding it very funny, because I was already then, I had some kind of awareness. I was watching what I was doing, but I let it do, so the anger could exhaust itself. Yeah. If I would have tried to be nice directly to that person at that moment, it would have been fake and not genuine, and then I would have exploded in her face. Yeah. So yeah, this is why we discuss different methods. And thank you very much, Tom, for saying, I find this method, it's this, because then each one can find out what method works for them. Okay. Then now number 10, this is what you mentioned. Why be unhappy about something if it can be remedied? And what is the use of being unhappy about something if it cannot be remedied? It's very clear. And also coming back to number 9, you know, it's a determination. You can make this determination in the morning, an intention before you get out of the house. Today, nobody will be able to disturb my mental joy of having a precious human rebirth, of having a family, of having friends, of having the Dharma, of having a teacher, you know, this whole thing. Yeah. And then when you make that intention and you remember from time to time when you feel it's getting tight in here and you go, hey, what was the intention? You will not disturb my peace of mind. Then again, you know, that can help quite a lot. Really knowing what we want, really knowing, and from time to time also be very clear. I want to be happy. I want to be relaxed. I want to be kind of helpful to others. I don't want to harm. I want to become enlightened. You know, I don't want to follow these things. When we do that before the negative emotions are there, then we take away a bit of their strength. When we do it in the middle of them, they don't want to collaborate. Then they start to fight. Yeah. Then the negative emotions start to fight with the good intention, and then it can make some damage. Actually, sometimes it can win, but. So this is why the reflections, it's good to make them when the mind is in a neutral state, because then it's like when you have a handful of seeds and you throw them on a field that is not prepared. Even the seeds are very good, but there's stones in the fields and weeds and thorns, and you throw out the seeds, then nothing good will come. Whereas if you take the time to prepare the field before, you even it out and put water and take out the stones and the weeds, then you have a good chance that the mind, like the crops will grow good and the mind will transform. It always needs, our mind really is like a field that is full of stones and wrong views and thorns and egocentridness and all this. So we need to work a bit with these and with any of these verses. Number 11. For myself and for my friends, I want no suffering, no disrespect, no harsh words, and nothing unpleasant. But for my enemies, it is the opposite. There we need kind of honesty. We need to be kind of ruthlessly honest with ourselves and to see that this is true, So, by the way, number 10 to 26 is methods how to counteract your anger. To see that we are really unjust. When we get so upset about injustice, and then we all of a sudden we see, I do the same thing. The people I dislike, I don't mind when they're suffering. People I like, oh, very much I get involved. Yeah. So this is a good, and in order to be able to see this now, these verses that follow, you need to trust your basic natural goodness and intelligence by thinking again and again and again and again, I'm a good person and I want to live in this world as a good person, as a non-harming person, as a generous person, as a kind person. As His Holiness says, my religion is kindness. Don't make it Buddhism, make it kindness. And kindness can be stopping somebody who is about to do harm to themselves or to others in a very firm way. That can be a very kind act if you are concerned with the happiness of this person who is about to harm. Okay? If you're not doing it because you're too afraid and you say, oh no, I'm practicing patience, that's not patience. Yeah. So again, can you see where you need the awareness to see what is my intention behind this action? Yeah. It's very complicated. It's very complex, our mind. It's very, very tricky. Okay, number 12. This is the causes of happiness sometimes occur, but causes of suffering are very many. Without suffering, there is no renunciation. Therefore, mind, you should stand firm. This applies to Israel. Yeah, I would say at the moment, there is the causes of suffering are very, very many. If in Switzerland we look at this verse, the Swiss people say, oh, that's not true, because we live in a wonderful country and our government is really good. At least we have an impression that is really good. Either they totally fool us or, I don't know. People are quite considerate and happy. We have a very good kind of good harmony in the house where I live and all this. So in Switzerland, one would say, I don't believe that. But it's also when then we look. So then what we did in Switzerland, we said, okay, so now give me a list of what you think are causes for happiness. So they went like, walking in the forest, going for a swim in the river, going to the movies on a Tuesday afternoon. It's not a joke. That was really like a cause for happiness. Yeah. And so they said, yeah, okay, but these are all things we need outside. They are not causes for happiness. They are consuming happiness, consuming the good karma that we have. So these conditions, they're not causes for happiness, they're just conditions. Then some people said, being able to work with my negative emotions so I can dissolve my anger. I said, yeah, that is a cause for happiness. So see, even in Switzerland, the causes for happiness are very few. Yeah, because all the other stuff, this is conditions for happiness, not the causes. And also it depends very much on the state of our mind, whether we kind of see them as happiness or not. So that is Leora Kennett's verse, isn't it? When we said, yeah, of course, dukkha is around every corner there's dukkha. Dukkha of pain, dukkha of change, dukkha all pervasive, is everywhere. It's all pervading. So what do I complain about? 13. If some ascetics and the people of Karnapa endure the pain of cuts and burns for no reason, then for the sake of liberation, why have I no courage? Meaning for meaningless stuff like me climbing high mountains, with the rocks and stuff, injuring my body and these kind of things. If I can endure hardships for this, why could I not endure hardships for liberation and in order to benefit all sentient beings for enlightenment? Come on, what are you complaining about? This verse number 13 is like talking to a small child. You said, oh, no, I can't do it. Oh, it's too difficult. 14. That one is one of my favorites also. There is nothing whatsoever that is not made easier through acquaintance. So through becoming acquainted with small harms, I should learn to patiently accept greater harms. So by having smaller pain, smaller nutniks around you, you practice to relax with the pain, with the nutnik, with the difficult situation. So then also you can take on bigger objects of patience. Don't just think, I practice patience when somebody comes and steals my things, or when somebody is kind of hitting me. Not these big things. We practice with the small things. Now I'm going very fast, I know, so if it's too fast, please let me know. If you want to say something, please do say something. No? Okay. Who has not seen this to be so without trifling sufferings, such as the bites of snakes and insects, feelings of hunger and thirst, and with such minor things as rashes? We all had these things, we all survived, they did not kill us. I should not be impatient with heat and cold, wind and rain, sickness, bondage, beatings, for if I am, the harm they cause me will increase. You might recognize something. There is 3 kinds of patience, or 3 objects of patience. So this is the first one, that we learn to be patient with outside conditions that we can, we have no control over. Rain, wind, insects, all these kinds of things. So that's the first kind of patience. The second kind of patience is we learn not to retaliate when somebody harms us. The third kind of patience is we're patient with the Dharma. With our spiritual practice, patience also means to endure, to continue, not to give up. Yeah. So when they see their own blood become especially brave and steady, but some, when they see the blood of others, faint and fall unconscious. So this is like, it depends on your mind. For some people, when they see blood, they kind of faint. The others, they become more courageous and go into war and into battle and all these kinds of things, or become more aggressive. When you see people, sports, boxing, and one starts to bleed, the other gets more aggressive. Or not sports, but out in the street. It's like when some see blood, then they become even more courageous. So it totally depends on the mind. I used the example vomit and caca. You know, if you have diarrhea and it's your own caca, you're quite capable of cleaning it away yourself. If you're not too sick, but if it's the caca of somebody that you dislike, it will become much more horrible. Yeah, caca is caca, you know, blood is blood. So same with vomit. And if it's the vomit or the caca of your beloved child, it is absolutely no problem to clean it away. You know, if a baby vomits on you, you're not worried about your clothes. Yeah, if a drunk person vomits on you, the first thing you worry about is not the drunken person, but it's your clothes that are being dirty. So again, it just depends on how we see the whole thing. Okay, where even when the wise are suffering, their minds remain very lucid and undefiled, for when war is being waged against disturbing emotions, much harm is caused at the times of battle. That means, so the people are well trained in awareness, you know, even though there is a storm going on inside of anger and aversion, then still they see what is going on. And we should not expect not to suffer when we go on war against our own disturbing emotions. There is that. The ego will feel terrible sometimes, I tell you. You know, you feel even much more agitated than before you were going against agitation. You will feel much more desire than before you were trying not to follow every instinct of kind of grasping something. So yeah, there will be suffering. Is to be expected, but the goal is worthwhile. I mean, it's all about this. The victorious warriors are those who, having disregarded all suffering, vanquish the foes of hatred and so forth. Common warriors slay only corpses. Okay, so that's what it means. The common soldiers, when they kill the enemy, they kill somebody who is going to be a corpse anyway at one point, whereas the real courageous ones are the ones who go against the causes for war, like the karmic imprints that we have created, like the causes for that is created by our self-centeredness and pleasures. Okay. Furthermore, suffering has good qualities. This is this one. Through being disheartened with it, arrogance is dispelled. That's the first positive thing. Compassion arises. We have empathy for others in the same place. Unless we are on a competition for suffering, you know. Have you ever noticed that? Somebody asks you, how are you? And then you go, oh, you know, I have this and this and this. And then somebody who asked you, how are you? They go like, yeah, and me, oh, I have this and this and this. As if, you know, they want to top your suffering. Actually, one does it with the intention for the person to see, hey, come on, your suffering is not so big. You should not be unhappy about it. That's the intention. But it's not being received so well. So try not to do it. Try just to listen. Empathy is just to listen with an open heart. Not needing to do something. That is empathy. Compassion is then you do something. But empathy, first you listen and you understand, you know. You're not going like, well, at least it's not like this, or at least it's like, you know, you're not going like this. And it needs a lot of courage to do that, to listen without being able to change something, without even wanting to change something. This is why I think voice messages on the WhatsApp are very helpful. If you want to complain to somebody, or if you want to tell somebody you're suffering, whatever, don't call. Send a voice message, because then the person will really listen without interrupting you. Don't call, just send the voice message. And then also, if you, the person will have time to think about it and won't think so much about their suffering, but will think about, because having heard your whole story of your suffering, the answer will be much better than by blah, blah, blah immediately, because they have time to think about it. The same goes for criticism. The same goes for accusations. The same goes for, so voice messages WhatsApp I find very, very helpful. Very good, because we really listen until it's finished. I hope. Or do you, in the middle of the message, do you already give your opinion? No, no, we don't. So then take refuge in voice messages. Where were we? Okay, so then we have like compassion arises for those who are in the same point. As I do not become angry with great sources of suffering such as jaundice, then why be angry with animate creatures that they too are provoked by conditions? So now it changes the object. Now he comes to the object of when it's people harming us. Okay, before it was like inanimate things, and we see that not getting angry. So also with, sickness, it's nothing that is joyful, but we bear it, it's okay. And then we do what we need to do. We swallow the medicine, even if it's bitter. So the sicknesses, although they are not wished for, these sicknesses arise, and likewise, although they are not wished for, these disturbing conceptions forcibly arise. Meaning we have no control over them. Nobody wants to be angry. It looks to us that others want to be angry. But just look at your own mind when you get angry. We don't have to say, oh, come on, now I need to get angry. It just comes. And there's no control. And we talked in length, we talked about the causes for the kleshas, which the main cause is the klesha that has been before. That is the substantial cause. Then we have other causes which are, the seed or the habit meets the object. So the object is not the cause, it's just a condition. Society is a condition. What else? Views is a condition, like, we're very attached to views. And then especially, and I think that was the homework for 1 week, paying inappropriate attention, allowing the mind to stay with the object instead of taking it away and bringing it inside. What do I feel? How do I feel? What am I thinking? Is this how I want to be? Reflecting on what's going on, being aware, or just staying with the negative emotion. That's also helpful. So for me, these two ones, the moment before, then there's nothing I can do. It meets the object, negative emotion will arise. Whereas inappropriate attention, if I train awareness, there I can do something. And then I don't collaborate with these kleshas. I'm kind of staying still with speech and body. Yes, Hagar. You want to say something? You just looked as if you wanted to say something, Hagar. Malka.
Sorry, my cat just stepped on the laptop. Maybe it was her.
Yeah, so it was your cat wanting to say something. Okay.
Probably. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay, no problem. Okay, so hold on. Then, without thinking, I shall be angry. People become angry with no resistance, and without thinking, I shall produce myself. Likewise, anger itself is produced. This goes for us and for all others. Okay, then we can continue. All mistakes that are and all the various kinds of evil arise through the force of conditions. And now we have to go, Tom, you have to go a little bit further down. Yeah, they arise through the force of conditions. They do not govern themselves. If you have to seed and you have to condition, the anger will arise, and all the other kleshas as well. But if in this life, you think your Dharma practice is not working, but you try as much as possible to recognize these negative emotions and not to act on them, then they lose their power over us, and in next life also we will have much less negative emotions. But if we collaborate with them all the time, then they will just become stronger and stronger and stronger. Thank you, Tom. Are you writing in Hebrew what it means? Yeah? Wow.
It's not me. I'm not sure who is doing that. But
somebody else. Okay, so somebody else is screen sharing or something. Well, anyway, it's very good. Thank you. All mistakes that are and all the various kinds of evil arise through the force of conditions. They do not govern themselves. This we had. These conditions that assemble together have no intention to produce anything, and neither does their product have the intention to be produced. Okay? Yeah, when, it's a natural law. You have a seed. Yeah, it's okay, you can continue. It's a natural law. You have a seed, you have the conditions for the seed to ripen, warmth and moisture, the seed will ripen, whether you want or not. That which is asserted as primal substance and that which is imputed as a self, since they are unproduced, they do not arise after having purposefully thought I shall arise in order to cause harm. So this is kind of refuting some of the views that were present at that time, where it was said, I think it's the Samkhyas who said, there's a primal substance out of which everything then kind of arises or something like this. This is Geshe-ma's field here. This is not mine. So I leave it to her. This is Sunday evenings on emptiness. So it's very good. But also what was meant, if we continue, or maybe just stay with verse 27, because there is this view of previous lives and future lives. So people had to come up with something that carries these karmic imprints from one life to the other. So for some people it's a soul. For other people, it's something permanent. For other people, it's the eighth consciousness. It's like, so, because otherwise it's too complicated. If everything is empty, if nothing exists from its own side, what goes to the next life? Yeah, so this is where I think this primal substance or soul or Atman or things like that kind of came about. Something philosophical, not something that we feel innately. A soul has been invented. Everything is invented, by the way. I'm not saying, there's things that have not been invented. Everything has been invented by our mind. But otherwise, a soul, we wouldn't feel, yeah? But we feel anger, and we feel I, and we feel me, but we don't feel a soul. We feel a soul because somebody has told us that we have a soul. Yeah, we have learned this. So this is views that we have learned. If they are unproduced and non-existent, that is, I think we can skip, because they all say the same thing. And it needs knowledge, what is being refuted. So one needs to know the school that it goes into and all that. Basically what it says, what it refutes. It refutes an inherently, permanently, singularly, autonomously existing self that is permanent, that does not change. These are all these verses that it refutes. Okay, so we can go to verse, factors we turn are governed by others, yeah. Everything is unreal. Okay, with 32, this is where we stopped last time, and this is where we will stop today. But then I promise you next time we really continue then. But I see that some people are new. So, and for those who did the first ones, I think it's good too. It's good for me to repeat because I always forget. If everything is unreal, like an apparition, then who is there to restrain what anger? Surely in this case, restraint would be inappropriate. It would not, okay, so that's one part of the verse where somebody, from this other school says, hey, you guys, you say that everything is just like a new illusion or everything has only been invented. So then if that is the case, then why should I restrain my anger? If I'm not existing from my own side, I'm just an illusion or a dream. If the other is just illusion or dream, why should I restrain my anger? So then Shantideva actually answers, yes, it would not be inappropriate, it is very appropriate to restrain your anger, because conventionally I must maintain that independence upon restraining anger, the stream of suffering, is severed. Meaning that Shantideva does not agree with that argument. If everything is just illusion, then why would I have to do something? He says, working with patients, puts an end to suffering. We're not creating more imprints to be reborn again and again and again and again under the control of our negative emotions. Because also when we are angry, ego, I, is very, very strong. Yeah. And I am more important than the other is very, very strong. So when we start to practice patience, that very strong feeling of I gets reduced. And when the very strong feeling of I gets reduced, it's much easier to understand emptiness. It's much easier to at least try to have a little bit of a feeling or an idea of what it means, no self. No self doesn't mean you don't exist, but what does not exist is the separate, the self or the I that comes up when we're very angry, and it forgets that it also needs a body and the mind and the speech to kind of to do something. Yeah. When anger is there, that I is very, very strong. So then when somebody comes and says, hey, but it doesn't exist, you go like, hey, come on, it's really there. So that's why practicing patience will put an end to suffering. And the suffering is only conventionally existing. Conventional means it's dependent on causes and condition. It doesn't exist from its own side. Sometimes it seems as suffering has no causes. It does have causes. Yeah. What do things depend on so that they come into existence? This is question to the very bright students there. What does anything need in order to exist? Huh? The Leoras. What are the things that are needed for things to exist? Inherently existing, what does it mean? How do you translate inherent existence in Hebrew? Maybe Leora Kennett. Or Leora Price, she opened her mic, okay.
I think Leora, קיום מולד, inherent existence.
קיים מכוח עצמו, from its own side. Objective.
קיים בצורה עצמאית, עצמאות קיומית.
Without dependency.
Yeah, without being dependent, not needing, in simple terms, not needing anything else to exist.
קיום עצמאי.
This is inherent existence, real existence, true existence, without causes and conditions. It is itself since beginningless time. It does not change. It is always itself, and it will not change. So for that, it needs parts and particles. It needs a mind that labels it. So it needs a mind that labels it, and it needs a label. It needs a function, okay, for functioning things. So suffering needs to be called suffering. So like even suffering, like pain, if you are a masochist, you pay money to feel pain because you want to be happy. So that means everything is labeled by the mind, and especially, of course, the label we give house and pen and all these kinds of things, they're just agreements. But then the pen is a pen when you start to label it pen. Yeah. So again, this is Sunday evening. So, I'm sure Geshe-ma goes through this again and again and again and again. So it's good to repeat it again and again and again and again. It really hits home what something needs. But our mind projects. Our mind adds something to what is there. It adds real, true, existing, objectively existing. That was very good also. Objectively existing. The thing exists out there, separate from my mind. Yeah. So he says, he leaves behind philosophizing and he comes to the essential. Yeah. So because there's these two views, the eternalists and the nihilists. Yeah. And you cannot justify suffering as an eternalist. You cannot justify it as a nihilist. Suffering is there. Suffering exists, even if you're a nihilist. If you're an eternalist, suffering cannot finish, cannot end. So this is basically saying, just in a very sober and very clear way, yes, if you restrain your anger, you can end the suffering. But in order to enter suffering properly, you have to realize emptiness. And you cannot realize emptiness when you're constantly angry. It's impossible. That's why. Okay, so then we still do number 33 because that will be your homework. So when seeing an enemy or even a friend committing an improper action by thinking that such things arise from conditions, I shall remain in a happy frame of mind. So regardless of who is behaving inappropriately, enemies or friends, keep calm. Don't get all hot and stubborn. Be patient. In this case, by remembering the fact that the reason for their actions are not so obvious and simple as we think. It arises from a variety of causes and circumstances. There always this. We see it like, boom, this is the way it is. We judge. And if we have the space of mind to say, it just appears like this. It's much more complex than we think. That also gives us some space. Yeah. And we will never know the whole situation. We don't know what was before. We don't know what comes out of this action. Because if we could see what comes out of this negative action, maybe we could have some compassion for the aggressors. Maybe we could, but only a Buddha can see, the whole picture. Okay, so then always the thing is drop your story. Your story is incomplete or exaggerated, always. Yeah, this is another thing. We have to be humble to see I am not 100% right here. I only see it from my side. And then now is this whole thing here, when we see a friend doing an improper action, we have different reactions also. Sometimes we even hide it, we help him hide the whole thing. We defend him. We kind of find good reasons for the friend why he's doing this. For the enemy, totally different. Do you agree? How we're totally not equanimous? Other times, when a friend is doing inappropriate action, we get even more upset than when an enemy is doing inappropriate action, because I think you can stop the screen sharing so we can see each other again, because we're not going further than that. Because with the enemy is somebody that we dislike. Yeah, it's not an enemy. It's not somebody who's out to kill you. It's somebody that you don't like. This is what is called the enemy. Because of them, we almost expect it. So we're not so surprised and we don't get so upset, not so angry. When a friend is doing something inappropriate, we get very angry. Because why? Because we have put the label friend there. So my friend is only good. My friend is not going to do any negative actions. Otherwise, this friend is not my friend. But since I labeled him friend, so he better behave so that he's worthy to be my friend. This is how we are. This is what we do. So I would like you to check that during this week. Then we continue with verse 34. Whether that's true or not, how can that be true that for the same action or similar actions, I react like this, and for the other one, I react like this. And then we check. Why? What is lying behind? And then we see, because of my views, has nothing to do with the person outside. And then to check what happens when you start thinking like this. Are you still so upset? Are you still so angry? Are you more forgiving? I just had a situation like this. It was so funny. But actually, the verse for that comes a bit later, but it still also applies to this. Because somebody who never makes mistakes, she made a mistake, and somebody else got so angry and so agitated. And I said, come on, she made a mistake. She took things with her that she shouldn't have taken. But then the other one said, but she never does that, So when she never does it, if somebody has this view about you being perfect, I tell you, you poor thing. You are not allowed to make mistakes. Because otherwise your friend gets very angry because you never make mistakes. Yeah, these are the verses that follow, you know, when it says, why getting upset at, was it, why getting upset about the sky being covered by clouds? Because it's only occasionally. Yeah. With the enemy, we think, oh, but he's always like that. So why get upset? Because it's like getting upset with the fire for burning, because it's in the nature of fire to burn. If this person is naturally bad, why getting upset? They're naturally bad, so leave them alone. Yeah, so, but this comes like next week. So it's very good arguments there. Are you happy with your homework? Yeah. So try to do that, because then we can create some equanimity in our reactions also by seeing it comes from by clearly seeing, directly seeing it comes from my own mind and not from the mind of others. Okay. I had decided to stop at 9:30, but now it's already 20 to 10. But we just do the dedication. 10 minutes is like not too bad, is it? I'll try better next time to stop after an hour and a half. I promise. You can also kind of start going like this, you know. Then I stop. Okay, so but we did the review, which I think I'm very happy about, because it's good to repeat it, and especially for the people who are new, so that you know more or less what's going on. If you have the text, of course, you can, I think it's on the website, you can read the small commentaries between the verses, and then next week we come to more antidotes against anger, yeah, reasoning, because we are very intelligent people, so we can reason very well. So we just sit another 2 minutes in order to FEI. We sit another 2 minutes in order just to dedicate. Very important. One thing is to be very happy about having spent this a bit more than an hour and a half together, to have talked about very meaningful things that create very strong imprints on our mind, to have that trust. It's a good thing that we did. And then to wanting to share that goodness with all other beings. May everybody else, like tonight, tomorrow, the whole week, in the future, may everybody else who sees me, hears me, touches me, thinks about me, talks about me, may it only be of benefit to them. Whoever has contact with me, may it be of benefit to them. It's a very simple, but very, very strong dedication. May the positive potential that we have created kind of lead to this goal. From my side, may I always want to benefit them. From their side, may I never upset their peace of mind. May we all attain enlightenment very, very, very fast. May we be free from suffering. Suffering that is so unnecessary because it's based on wrong views, which Geshe-la on Sundays will explain really, really clearly. What are these wrong views that we cling so much? All we have to do is change them. It will take a long time, but we don't need to go and change the whole world. We just have to change our mind. We dedicate positive potential we have created by discussing this together, that very quickly we can cut through these wrong views and then be of benefit to all sentient beings, so that we can all live our potential that we all have of this basic natural goodness, spaciousness, and intelligence that every mind possesses. Okay. Thank you so much. And have a good week. And see you next Wednesday, maybe. If yes, great. If not, I still like you. I still love you. We can still be friends. You know, please don't ever, if you feel that you have to apologize that you did not appear or something like this, you can do it for your own sake. But for my sake, you don't need to do it. Okay. So it's fine. You know, I'm not judging, and I'm happy when you're here. If not there on the screen, it's fine. It's absolutely not a problem. So, because whatever I'm doing here is also good for me. So you give me the opportunity to also see that I still have to go a long way, but then the joy is kind of there to have these methods, to be able, never to be stuck, you know, especially with Shantideva, always have a different angle that we can use and that we can try out. As Einstein says, you know, if you want to solve a problem, you cannot solve it with the same mind state that has created it. So take care.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Thank you
And a lot
very
of
much.
joy and the least possible anger.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mama.
Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
אז תודה רבה למי שהשתתף, ותודה רבה לאני שאמרנו את כל הדברים החכמים האלה, ונתראה בשבוע הבא.
תודה רבה לך.
תודה תום. ביי.